Usually when it says preparing, I'm actually live on Facebook. So I'm gonna go quickly on my group and double check that. There is a slight. Oh, here we go.
It's saying it's streaming live.
Yay! Oh, hi guys, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are. This is a new episode of the Truth Runners Talk Show, the new Tuesday afternoon, where I have the great pleasure and honor to have a very special guest, Sara Jane. Welcome, Sara Jane, to the Truth Runners Talk Show.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a real pleasure and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, me too, because our topic, guys, today is early years trauma, how to heal that. And I'm going to ask a couple of questions, Sara Jane. We are going to have a really nice discussion. Feel free to ask, put your comments, and we are going to try to answer as best as possible. But before that, I would love to introduce to you Sara Jane because she is new in our group, and I would love you guys to know who she is, a part of being a beautiful, special soul. So Sara Jane, she's a master of voice and creator of Vocal Reiki. She's the founder of Gift of Healing TV. She's an international speaker and an author. She is based in England when she runs her own therapy practice and hosts workshops to help you connect with your inner child. Sara is a master teacher and practitioner of both Reiki and Vocal Reiki. Sara draws her own life experiences and healing journey to support those that attend her practices, courses, and workshops. She comes from a varied background, having worked in retail, office, and public house management, as well as insurance. Oh, wow. A fun fact about Sara is that she has been a trainee handler with the wolves of the UK Wolf Conservation Trust. That's interesting. And felt honored to interact with these amazing creatures. At the end of our conversation, we are going to put Sara's details in the comments so you can reach her on her website or through Facebook. But before we got there, we have a really nice long conversation. I'm looking so forward because I would love to ask you so many things. First of all, how comes that you took the path of spirituality, first of all, and then why Reiki and why Vocal Reiki?
The path of spirituality. It actually really started with Reiki.
Oh, really?
When I was starting my healing journey, for want of a better way of putting it, and I was looking for what could I do to help me. The traumas I'd had in childhood. I'd had some support through psychotherapy, etc. But I was thinking, sort of, it hadn't got to the depth that was required. But what could I do to help me? And I thought, well, I could learn massage, but you can't exactly massage yourself.
It's really, yeah,
absolutely. And so I went to a mind, body, spirit. And so the first person that I saw when I walked in the door, and she was sharing information about metamorphic technique, which I've also learnt and I'm a practitioner of. She was sharing information about an angel day, which I ended up by going to as well, run by her own Reiki master, the lady who became my Reiki master. Because when I was talking to her, a lady called Angie, she said, oh, the first person you treat when you learn Reiki is yourself. Well, what had I said to the universe? Something that I can do for me. And I don't know how and why I understood. But I understand now that the only person who can heal you is you.
Thank you.
It doesn't stop other people, for want of a better way of putting it, being involved. The energy that they offer can be a tool that empowers your own self-healing. But the only one that can work with that is you. And the one thing with the Vocal Reiki very much is the individuals I work with have to be involved in the process. To a certain degree, unlike a Reiki session or a metamorphic technique session, it isn't a matter of me standing there just holding the energy or doing the moves on your hands, feet, and head as you do with the metamorphic technique. It is a very interactive technique.
Oh, really?
It really is. So it was that, going to that mind, body, spirit fair, meeting Angie, going to that angel day, meeting Elaine, who became my Reiki master. And it was really good that she she was the way she was. She was the perfect Reiki master for me, because I was so insecure and I never expected anything to last, relationships, anything to last. I wanted everything yesterday. So I was actually quite impatient. With Elaine, you did your level 1 Reiki, and it was a minimum 6 months before you could do your level 2. To go from level 2 to masters, a minimum a year.
Oh, wow.
And all the training for becoming a teacher came separately. And so it was really, really good because it was about patience. However, when I did my level 1, I did it for me. I had no intention of going on and doing anything else. None at all. And then suddenly after 9 months, I thought, do you know what? I'm going to do my level 2. And so I said to Elaine, am I ready to do my 2? She said, oh, yeah. So we organized to do that. I did my level 2, and that was in the February. And in the October that year, I said to her, I'd like to do my master's. She said, we'll book it now for February. I said, will I be ready? She said, oh, yes. And it was literally exactly the same dates, rather than being Saturday and Sunday. It was Sunday and Monday, or Monday and Tuesday, whatever. So it was exactly the same dates, 2 years running. So Reiki really was my grounding, which is where I started. But Elaine also introduced me to sound in the form of toning, the use of the voice. And as much as I love Reiki, and that is where I started, the use of the sound, the use of the toning, the use of the voice, I fell in love with it. Mm. But I was just introduced to it as that. It was, this is just something you do. But it wasn't part of a technique. It wasn't part of a practice. And then I learned quantum touch, and the lady that taught us quantum touch, because Elaine learned it at the same time, taught us quantum touch, said, oh, when she knew about our love of the toning and the sound energy, and she said, you can use this, the toning with it. Oh, thank goodness for that. I've got something I can use the toning with. And I'm sure I did do elements of quantum touch, but I think I was probably working with sound most of the time. But then slowly it changed. So although I did everything to qualify to be a practitioner of quantum touch, I never registered as a quantum touch practitioner. But that's beside the point. Slowly, it was just like, how can I integrate the sound? And then it slowly, okay, actually it's a sound Reiki. Then I discovered somebody else had already called it sound Reiki. But then it's as a voice, so it's vocal. So if you like, yes, I am the founder of Vocal Reiki.
Woo!
And I am happy to teach it, but it's not a 5-minute teaching, because it's taken me years to get to where I am with it. And I started very much on the physical level. So muscular, skeletal, headaches, migraines, that sort of type of thing. It is only as the years have gone by that I've realized just how powerful it is, that it can get to a cellular memory level, which of course is how it can get to the, we can connect with the inner child. You must have a question for me. And I suddenly realized I didn't turn a light on. So I know it looks quite light at the moment, but it's going dark.
No, feel free to
So
turn the light
2
on.
seconds,
Absolutely.
but do ask the question.
The reason why I was asking about, tell me about the Reiki and vocal Reiki, it is because actually I really, really wanted to connect it with, you said that every healing is self-healing. Let's face it, so that's the truth. But I really wanted to make the connection between vocal Reiki and healing the inner child through vocal Reiki. But let's see further, really, really basic. When we talk about inner child, what exactly do we mean? And when we talk about earlier trauma, which means traumas between the age of 0 to 6, right? What exactly do we, because we are kids and we think and we do not remember. We think. So there are a lot of questions. I'm just going to leave it to you. But that's the reason actually what I was asking, and connecting vocal Reiki with healing the inner child and the childhood traumas.
This is why I talk about the cellular memory level.
Mm-hmm.
Because do we have memories of the trauma? And who, and I will say this so strongly and with such passion, who is to judge what is traumatic to a child? One word can be traumatic to a child. It hasn't got to be an accident, an incident, a bereavement. It hasn't got to be, which we know would be traumatic to a child. And maybe if I tell a little of my story from when I was a baby, because it's my journey that has helped me to understand. And I think it's important. And if telling my story helps people to realize that I really do get it. So just before my first birthday, and I'm the oldest daughter, just before my first birthday, I got scolded by a boiling milk coffee that went all over my face, and the jumper I was wearing stuck to my skin. And I ended up by being in hospital for 3 months because I wouldn't leave the wounds alone. So they literally had to pin my hands back, and they actually called it crucifying. Bearing in mind that I'm 64 this year, so it's 63 years ago this happened. Wow. And that was at a time when the hospital rules were the parents could come and see their child for an hour every other day.
Yeah, I remember those days.
My reality, because my mum didn't drive, and even if she did, they wouldn't have been able to afford 2 cars. Dad needed it for work. My reality is I saw my parents once a week for an hour. They now know the damage, the emotional damage that separation causes to children, which is why obviously mothers especially are encouraged to stay with their children in hospital. And when I was going through what, trying to understand all this, apparently children go through 3 phases. Phase 1, this is simplistically put because I like keeping things simple. Phase 1 is where they're crying all the time.
Yeah.
Which of course they are. They just want their mother. They're in pain. They need the hug and the cuddle of their mother. Phase 2 is where they stop crying. Now, phase 1's really healthy. That's exactly as it should be. Phase 2's not good, but they actually do feel they can bring children back from phase 2. Phase 3 is where the child has loses interest in their parents before they even leave the room. And my mother, and the damage is done. The book that I read, and okay, this is a few years back, it's like they just don't know how to bring children back from that. And that is why parents are now asked to stay with their children. And my mother's confirmed I hit phase 3. When I eventually came out of hospital, my parents had moved. So I didn't even go home to familiar surroundings.
Oh.
Which, there may be familiar things, but not familiar surroundings. My mother was pregnant with my sister Gillian. Gillian was born in the August, 59, and died 9 weeks later. All by the time I was 18 months old. So we are talking trauma of injury, trauma of desertion, and basically, if you think about it, the abuse of the child being kept from their parents and the parents being kept from the child. That trauma, and then the trauma, the death of a sister, all by the time I was 18 months old. There were other little things, but this is where I would say even one word can be traumatic to a child, because there were certain elements of that. I have no memories of these things. I was far too young. But you cannot explain to a child that what's happening. It is, however, important for the adult to understand. So I went through all of that and I became a people pleaser. Rather than getting angry, bitter, and because we have many options as to how we can become, how we react to what has happened. Me, I became a people pleaser, but I felt unwanted, unloved, not good enough. Every negative word you can think about yourself, that's how I felt about me.
Oh, package.
Yeah, full, got the t-shirt, wrote the book, etc., etc. Yes, absolutely. Full package of people pleaser. Where did I come? I came nowhere on the list of what I would do with people. It was no thought consideration to think about me. The only thought about me was not to upset others, hopefully help them like me, but they'd soon twig that I wasn't worth liking and they'd be off, But that's the negative feeling you have about yourself.
Yeah, I know. Familiar.
So, yeah. So the inner child, what has been really, really important for me is firstly coming to an understanding of what happened, that there was no fault. It was circumstances. And so I do not in any way, shape or form blame my parents. I don't. And I don't blame my youngest sister. My sister, not my youngest sister, because Jackie's still very much alive, and so is my sister Katie, but but Gillian, there's no blame. And I've been able to, I suppose, for a better way of putting it, I've been able to help myself rise above all of that. But I've also been able to help myself get through all of that. It's not a matter of, okay, fine, bury it under the carpet anymore. It's bring it to the fore. But it's not bring it to the fore and relive the pain. What I've helped myself do is reconnect to, and actually name will come into this, and we can talk about the name thing, but I was Jane as a baby. Christened Sara Jane, but I was Jane as a baby. And I've been able to reconnect with Jane. And one of the biggest enlightenments was the only person who ever rejected me was me when I changed my name from Jane to Sarah. I was the only person who, when I know the conversation, you're thinking about the conversation we had before we started.
Yes, exactly. You see my face.
Absolutely. So it was very important to me to slowly but surely to understand. And I have helped myself connect with baby Jane, with the very young Sarah. And it's not happened overnight.
Mm.
But what I have found is, as they learn to trust you, because they are all inside you still, as they learn to trust you, they will come to you.
Mm.
And then you can give them that hug, that cuddle they desperately needed when they didn't get it. They can feel loved, they can feel supported, they can feel listened to. And it doesn't necessarily require words. It's just about a feeling. And as that younger self feels loved and feels heard, they become happier. And I'd say I'm the way I am today because my inner child, and as the child becomes happier, that seeps up through all the ages to who you are today. And I've just watched the difference in people that have come for one-on-one sessions. You know, sort of, I don't see auras, I don't see things like that, but the energy around them, the energy, the glow in their face, as an aspect of them has healed within the session, but they've done the work to make it happen. So I don't know how much of that question, your question that answered, but that's how it all came about. What I've done for me is what I help and support others to do for themselves.
First, thank you, really, Sara Jane, for sharing this. Then let's see, Nicole. Nicole says, this is interesting. I've always said that how people act as adults most times stem from childhood experiences. Absolutely, Nicole. I think both Sara Jane and me, we agree with this. There are a couple of questions what just popped in my mind as you were sharing your story. Okay, all these things happened to you really, really early, so before the age of 2. And I was raised in an environment, again, same as you, not to blame anyone. That was the best they could do, the best they know at the time, when they used to say, she's too small, she's gonna forget, nothing gonna happen. So she's gonna forget. But it looks like we do not really forget, because you said every cell has memories and the memories are there. And also I've learned that traumas are really subjective. It's personal to everyone, because what might be a trauma for me or for you, it might be, oh, nothing for somebody else, right? But all these things, happenings, words, as you said, they are imprinted in every cell of our body, not just in our mind, right? And you were talking about healing the inner child, and kind of calling her forth, calling her, you know, that's really, really, really nice, because in the beginning, when I started this journey, I had no idea that such thing as inner child exists.
Couldn't agree more.
I was like, what they are talking about? What's that inner child? How? Where is that girl? How can I, talk to her? How can I embrace her? Who is she? And it turned out that she has many shapes and forms, many, different ages, different stages, different things. And she really, really, all she needs is to be hugged and understood and loved. Because with love, I've learned again the hard way that the way how uh, I think I should be loved, maybe people love me, right? They do, but in their own way. But they do not love me how I would love them to, love me. And that's the difference. And I felt like, oh, they do not love me. They do not care about me. Whilst they did, but on their own way. And this also can, living with your words, qualify as a trauma, because, you know, I didn't felt that, right?
Mm.
On your sessions, how you can help your clients, how do you reconnect basically for the first time? Let's suppose for the first time, how you reconnect for the very first time with your inner child. How much is your
Name.
work?
Your name.
My name.
Your name.
Let's talk about name, because you made me really curious about that now, honestly.
So, as I said, the only person who rejected me was me when I changed my name. And it was that I was out for a walk on some local heathland, and I was actually talking to Jane, if you like. I was having, I wasn't necessarily hearing what she was saying back, but I was speaking. And then suddenly, so I don't hear voices, but suddenly there was an absolute awareness about, oh, you were the only one who rejected her when you changed your name to Sarah. We'd moved town, so it was a different school. I went to the new school, and at the school, I told everyone I was called Sarah, which had then, of course, confused the living daylights out of the family, because to them, I was Jane.
I know.
But this is because where we had been living, there was another Jane. She was a little bit older than me and a little bit bigger. So she was big Jane and I was little Jane. And I didn't see the little as being a compliment. It just meant that I was less than she was.
Yeah.
And so that's the wording that can hurt. And what I would also say is, the way I see the things that happen to us that we don't deal with, our solar plexus is like a well. It's the core of our being. And everything that we don't know how to deal with at any age. So we talk about inner child, but that could be you of this morning or you of last night. If something happened that you then don't deal with in some way, shape, or form to help you to get through it, and it's through it, not over it, round it, whatever, it's through it so that you're not taking any rubbish with you. If you don't deal with it, deal with that later, and you bury it in your solar plexus. The child, you get told off for doing something. They don't like that aspect of me. I don't know how to deal with this. I will just try and disconnect myself from that aspect of me. We do so much disconnecting, but that's just things we haven't known how to deal with, and we put it into our solar plexus. So it becomes a well full of gunk. Just all the stuff over the years we have not dealt with, and it will come back to bite us. It may do some gentle nudges, but the trouble is, unless we know how to listen, we don't know. We absolutely don't know. And eventually, and I don't know whether you've heard of a lady called Brandon Bays, but she wrote a book called The Journey. And it was her story of discovering that she had got a football-sized tumor in her stomach. But she would not be operated on, have chemo, have anything like that. She was going to deal with this herself, with being obviously as clean a diet as absolutely possible, and she cleared that tumor. But in the process, she also realized that there were things in her early years that she hadn't dealt with. And so it became about working on those things, because at the end of the day, what that football-sized tumor was her wake up to the fact that there was a whole load of stuff in her past that was saying it's time to heal me. And she did heal herself, and she created this book and The Journey, and there were two different journeys that she created. And yes, I've experienced both of those in my own unique way. And yes, there may be aspects of what I now bring that and it is little aspects of, because I don't use the journey per se, because I very much use the voice and the name. And that is why when I speak to people and I do this, it's, please may I use the name your mother called you as a child. because that is how I can help you reconnect with your inner child.
Mm.
Now, when I realized what I had done, it was, well, I'm not going to go back to being Jane, because then I'm going to be rejecting the however many years I'd been Sarah. So I was going back into rejection. So that's why I'm Sara Jane. I honor the whole of me. And that, and you know, I've worked giving talks, etc. And there have been people from different countries, different cultures. And it has been trying to do my absolute best with the pronunciation of people's name. I've got a tickle thanks to hay fever. And it really is important. And there was one particular event, and she sort of said, "Oh, it's Veronica." And I said, "But your accent says it's not, because it's Veronica, because the V is more like our English B." And so it went, and then it's the rolled R, which again, so many people can't actually do, but I feel very blessed I can. And so I was able to actually tone her name as her mother would have said it. And I've had people say to me, "But I don't like my name." I'd like to know why they put their hand up to have their name toned if they didn't like it. But that's beside the point. By the time I finished, it's, oh, actually, yeah, no, that feels more comfortable. And people who've changed their name, who've eventually given me permission to tone the name their mother called them, if they've changed it, I've had people come back to me and say, "I'm changing it back." Because they've done a major change of name, you know, and I understand why, you know, what you're saying about why you've changed yours. But folks, you can do this for yourself. Now, okay, I know everything that I work with is channeled, because I do not believe that it is me that tones your name. It's my vocal cords being used, but it is not it is not me that's in control of that. Just as I offer Reiki, I offer this energy. I don't give it. It is for you to accept or reject as you choose. So if you said to me, "Actually, I'd love to hear my name being toned, please," and I did it and you felt nothing, there would be a reason for you feeling nothing. And that's out of my control. It is not for me. My intention is for the highest good of each individual I work with. But I do my absolute best to stay out of any form of judgment and any form of, "Oh, you've got to take it to that part of your body because that part of your body is where you need it." It's offered to your whole body, and your body takes it to where it is needed. I stay out of the equation other than what I am doing. Your listeners, toning. Does everybody understand what I mean by toning? Because otherwise I suggest I give you a very short demonstration.
Yes, please.
Okay, we won't do it with name. We won't do it with name. We will just do it as a tone. Now, please bear with me, because we are talking technology here. And sometimes you may hear a very little, and then you may hear silence in spite of the fact that I am toning throughout. Please don't worry about that. This is not about what you hear. It is about what you feel. So my suggestion is that you relax, you close your eyes, feet on the floor. One of the energies I work with is Mother Earth. Feet on the floor. We all have roots in our feet. Invite your roots down into Mother Earth, deep into Mother Earth, anchoring into Mother Earth. Mother Earth is sending up her love and her protection through your roots, up into your feet, up into your legs, up into your whole body, totally surrounding and protecting you. How did that feel?
For me personally, I don't know how you guys, just please put them in the comments, if you felt anything, if you felt what, and how did you feel? For me, I felt it here in the tummy, like this, and then expanding. And when it was silence, actually it was not silence, because there it was a little tiny, like a kind of echoing back. That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Sara Jane, for this little uh, powerful demonstration. It really, really helps. And I'm absolutely sure that during the sessions, while we are doing this, with the names, oh my God, that must be really powerful.
It is, and I've done taster sessions at fairs and events, and it was sort of just sort of people have said, but I've had people say to me, that sounded like my mother. And I said, has your mother passed? And it's yes. And I said, in which case is exactly who it was. It was your mother. And the experiences that people have had just with the taster. Obviously, with the taster, the one thing I will not do is attempt to take them into that journey of connecting with a hurt in a child. Because obviously that's something that potentially is up to an hour, and I always seem to know when to stop, because if the inner child is reticent, you can push them too far, which means they will just back right off again. So if we can get some connection, we just allow the inner child to come at their own pace. But what I would say to everybody is, okay, you may think, I don't know about, because a lot of people would say it's singing your name. And I don't, it's toning. But you could start by just speaking your own name. I actually tone my own name most days. And it is really powerful. It's connecting you with you. But when you're experiencing me toning your name, or anybody else toning your name, nobody is asking you for anything. And you're not in trouble, because we're very good at remembering the negative stuff.
Oh, yes.
So the people who don't like their name, and I was very definitely one of those, it's because our memory of our name is, what the heck do you think you're doing? Get here, you're in trouble for this. Will you do that? It's that constant trouble, nagging, whatever. And that is what we remember. Whereas I am sure when I got scolded, I was picked up, held by my mother, run under the cold tap, apparently, because obviously it was really important to try and keep swimming. The doctor lived just over the road. There was no phone in the house, so she literally ran me over the road to the doctor. They called the ambulance. But I'm sure I was being held, and I'm sure I was being cuddled, and I'm sure I was being talked to nicely. But obviously the 3 months that came after that absolutely wiped out. And even those visits in the hospital, the memory of the desertion outweighed anything loving.
How, this is a how question. People love the how questions. How, as an adult, you know that you are dealing actually with a childhood trauma, what actually holds you back to be an accomplished and happy adult? How do you know that that trauma is a childhood trauma, and how do you recognize that?
I think what you've got to realize is that, certainly with me, I was told the story of what happened to me. Yeah. I've always known it. But, over the last few years, things have happened, and it's not, it can be a trigger in older life of something that happens. And I remember that my wake-up call, what started my healing journey, was a broken jaw. The dentist broke it extracting a wisdom tooth, and I didn't know. And I didn't know it was broken for a week. And so I was being able to move my jaw less and less. Trying to chew food was impossible, and it was a 2-hour operation to try and put the jaw back into place and wire it into place and whatever. But it was only a year or two ago that I was walking through the local woods, and I realized that the broken jaw, and we've got to realize that's actually, it's all in the same place, because of course the boiling milk coffee went all over my face and my neck. And what you've got to realize is that my ex-husband, as is now, he'd picked me up from the hospital. He'd given me a bowl of soup in the evening for my tea. And then the following day just expected me to go back to normal, doing everything as I did.
Oh, you had 2 legs, you walked, you had no problem with walking, of course. He's a man, he expects, if you're not lying in bed, you're okay.
And it was just and I had 6 months of pain and sleepless nights. I hadn't got the energy for anything, let alone a full-time job, studying accountancy and running a home. I'm in some respects very blessed that there were no children, because I couldn't have done that as well. And being a people pleaser. And
that's a tough one too.
And I became exhausted. I was absolutely exhausted. But do you know what? I felt it was almost that, right, you've had your bowl of soup, probably something like was a homemade soup I'd made anyway. You've had your bowl of soup, now you can cook me my meals. And it was just it was almost back to being that child of being ignored in hospital. And so it's a trigger. Now, I was obviously very aware of my story, and I've been quite a way down my healing journey, but then realizing that there are triggers. There are things that we may not understand what it's bringing about in us. But it was just I'm being deserted again. He might have been there, but he wasn't supportive. He didn't understand. I get it. Because of the people pleasing, my own fault for not turning around and saying, excuse me, I could do with some support at the moment because I am really not well. So we can be our own worst enemy, male or female.
Oh,
we really can. Some guys are really good at just burying it. Guys, please let it out. Please be open. Please don't bottle it, because bottling it does you absolutely no good. And you will get that kick up the backside eventually, probably from your own body in some way, shape or form. It may be an emotional and mental thing. It may be a physical thing. True. But we will get that wake up call.
True.
And if we don't listen to the quiet ones, we will get the horrendous ones. And I will always turn around and say the best thing that ever happened to me was that broken jaw. It woke me up to my life, but I wouldn't want to go through it again. Thank you. I hope I've learnt my lesson. But every now and again, things happen.
Yes.
It's up to us to listen. Do you know your story? But as much as anything, do you know your parents' story? And your grandparents' story? Do you know what they went through in childhood? Do you know their experience, what they witnessed? Because I've worked with men and women who've been abused. Do not get me wrong. I do not condone abuse of any sort. I don't. But if your father grew up witnessing his father being bullied by his mother, or his mother being bullied by his father, and same with the females, the girls, what you witness is what you think is the reality out there in the world. And it's not in the majority of cases. You do not have to put up with that. It is so important to love yourself. You were talking about love earlier. It is so important. You have to be the love of your own life, because you teach people how to treat you. What you put up with is how people think it's okay to treat you.
Absolutely.
But we aren't taught to love ourselves. And this is why the use of your name can be so amazing. Do it for yourself. Absolutely do it for yourself. Because for me, what it helps us do is honor ourselves. When I do that for somebody else, it's just an energy of unconditional love and an honoring of the whole of who you are. That's what it's about. And why is the name so important? Because I believe, this is my belief, I'm not telling you got to believe it. My belief is we choose our own name and we guide our parents with what they call us. So Jane was what I was to be called. That is why it is so important to me. I don't mind if you call me Sarah, because these days, if you call me Sarah, that's fine. As far as I'm concerned, I've just hold that intention. It's honoring the whole of who I am, every aspect of me. And that is the important thing. How do we heal our younger self? And let's say younger self rather than inner child, because as I said earlier, younger self could be you of this morning.
This morning, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. We help to heal that younger self by being true to ourselves, by loving ourselves. And if we have a memory or a feeling about a time when we weren't feeling loved, respected, listened to, etc., then invite that aspect in. If you're having that feeling, that memory, they're letting you know they're there. If you can take some time, just sit and invite them in. Yes, there's no two ways about it. It's easier when it is being guided by somebody else. But we can do it for ourselves, because I've done it for me. It's how I know what to do. But it has taken me years to get to this point. So if somebody said, but Sarah, I want to learn from you, I'm not going to tell you it's a 5-minute job to learn it. Elaine was very strict with, because it's vocal Reiki, you will learn Reiki and the vocal aspect, but it will take time. You're not going to go straight into being able to do the younger self work.
Yeah.
You have to start with the basics first. Build your confidence. I have had bones move under my hands. When I was working hands-on, I don't work hands-on anymore. Because for cellular memory stuff, there isn't a hands-on that you can actually do.
Yeah.
So anyway, any other questions?
No, I love listening to you. It's a lot of things you said. And what I'm really, really I just made a note when you said to love and accept every aspect of me, which is really, really, because there are many aspects of us, right? And really learning to love and accept every aspect of us, it's really, really important, because we put like kind of mask. Okay, I like this part, I'm going to use this part, and then bury all of the others, or push them back. But that's not good. And also what I really, really loved saying, that you just have to sit down first of all and sit still and listen to yourself first, which many people find it really, really hard. So they got busy all the time, 24 hours a day, let's put it this way, just because they want to avoid actually sitting still. Because when you sit still, then in my perception, in my opinion, that was the time when I actually started to reconnect with myself, who I am, to talk to this person, with looking back in the mirror. And, oh boy, that was not pleasant in the beginning, really. And the work at the end of the day, a master, a Reiki master, a coach, a healer can only guide, show the way. But the work, it's you, it's us who needs to do the work, because no one can do the work for us, really. So it's and loving yourself. I love, this is my favorite topic, and I think this is the basic thing. First, just to understand what self-love is, and then sit down and embrace and hug yourself and really love yourself. No conditions, unconditionally, unapologetically, and using your words with every aspect of who we are. Loving every aspect. That's beautiful. And then the inner child, the girl this morning, 10 years ago, 30, 40, 44 years ago, that's my age. It's there really. And the healing journey is not a one-day process, and it's not a 1 month. I think it's a lifelong process.
Yeah.
You were talking about memories, and Evry says, and what I believe, and I think you agree with me, that we carry not just our own memories, but there's a whole lineage back, our parents, grandparents, going back to generations, and we have those memories too with us, which needs to be healed. And when you say, okay, this stops with me, then you are healing not only yourself, and you embrace your own inner child, you are healing the whole generation back and forth. Yeah. So this is really, really important. I'm so aware of the times, Jane, but I would love to ask you one more question, if you allow me. What is usually the reaction of your clients when they first go to your session and they actually, let's put it this way, they reconnect with their inner child, they start to heal? I felt lighter. I feel, like when you take something on my shoulder, and I feel like, oh, I can embrace myself. But I'm really curious, what was the most interesting reaction? Let's put it this way.
I think it's just really when I can say to people, I sort of sit there, because I get people to lie down. They don't get a chance to go to sleep, because obviously, as much as I do the toning of the name or the tone, depending on what I feel is the right thing to do, but actually they guide the session. But it's them becoming aware of the child. But it's when they sit up afterwards and I say, wow, you look so different. And they do. I wouldn't say it if they didn't. Yeah, and it was I think it was about 18 months after a couple of ladies they'd been coming down to Bournemouth, and I can't remember where it was, like somewhere at a race course somewhere up country, that I'd met them, but they'd been coming down to Bournemouth, so they came to me for sessions. And I met them again, sort of, as I said, about a year later or whatever it was, at that same race course. And they came up to me, and it was just like, Sarah, we still feel brilliant after that session.
Wow.
So it's not about, and this is what is so amazing to me, with the energy of this, the energy doesn't stop the minute I stop.
Sure.
If you, my suggestion was, because obviously where I live down in Bournemouth, they could go down to the beach, and I think it was summer months anyway, so great. Go and paddle, go and get an ice cream, go and let your child out to play. And they did. And another suggestion I say to people is, when you go to bed tonight, invite your child to come and lie with you. And you go to sleep together, you holding your inner child, that aspect of you that has made itself known to you today. Don't try and hurry it. Don't try and, for want of a better way of putting it, dictate which age you are, which incident it is. Let them come in their own time when they are ready. One particular client, we got so far with it, and she suddenly said, oh, I've got a whole load of them queuing up. So a whole load of them were totally ready at that point in time. So whatever other work that she'd done, and then suddenly it was, okay, right, now the final bit, now it is time. And that is amazing. But even that's the inner child, that's the younger self. Mm-hmm. But when you're starting, even to the extent I worked on somebody and I'd done everything I felt that was right to do for the child. But there was time left. So I won't say, okay, you've had 3/4, you've paid an hour session, you've had 3/4 an hour, but the child's had enough. You can get up and go now. I don't do things like that. And I said to this particular person, I said, okay, anything in particular, any part of your body? She said, absolutely, this muscle has been really playing up. And so I just toned. So what I was just doing, toned to the muscle. She said, that was amazing. The muscle felt it was being given permission to relax, so it did. And that is what sound energy does. Our aches, pains, illnesses, and ailments are our vibration out of sync. The energy, the vibration of the right sound can literally pull your vibration back into sync. That is why I've had bones move under my hands. Start slowly. Allow yourself to work with the physical. Use your name. Speak your name. If you can be encouraged to tone it. So Christina would be along the lines of Christina. So you break the name down. So with Jane, it would just be Jane. So depending on the name that you've got as to what you do, but just allow it. I'm no singer, trust me. That's all channel.
I love you.
So that, but you can do that. I wait for the house to be empty. Yes, I do. Although the guy that I share the house with, he's got so used to it, it doesn't matter, but I still try to respect other people in the house. So, but sound. Think about the music you listen to. Think about the energies of the sounds that surround you. You talk about sitting still. For me, it's go for a walk in nature. It doesn't really matter what works for you. If sitting and having a meditation, or lying and having a meditation, or lying down and giving yourself a Reiki session, whatever it is that works for you,
True.
that supports you to reconnect with yourself.
Okay. Thank you so much. Guys, if Sara resonated with you and you would love to reach out to her and you would love to try that out, you would love to reconnect and to see how actually the Vocal Reiki works, you can contact her on her Facebook or visiting her website, vocalreiki.com. I'm going to put everything in the description. It's over there anyways. Before we close our conversation today, I would love to ask you, what is the last final, let's put it this way, message, what you would love to share today with the audience?
I think I've already said it, really. It's love you.
Love
All of
Thank
you. It is so important. It was one of the things that if you like, I was a message I received while I was working on one client. Be the love of your life.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much. And we are going to leave with this, guys. Be the love of your life. Thank you so much, Sara Jane, for being here with me today. It was a great, great, great pleasure. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us and for all the loves and hearts and lights what you gave us today. I'm going to see you next week. Until then, I'm sending you all my love and light. Bye,
Thank you.
guys.